Documentary films have the power to make us laugh, cry, get angry, and march on Washington just as much, if not more, than narrative films. My next guests are no stranger to the genre. Their first film, Karaoke Gold, was a mockumentary about a man just trying to be the best karaoke singer he could be. Their latest, Married in Spandex, covers the road literally and figuratively to the wedding of two women from their home in Philly to Ames, Iowa. Devin and Allison, thanks for being on the show.
No problem.
Thanks for having us on.
Okay, so this might be a really funny interview. Obviously, Devin and I work together.
Well, I appreciate you having us on because we never get to hang out.
Right, exactly. So we never see each other. This
yeah.
is okay. So how did you all get into film?
Well, actually, it really started with Karaoke Gold, what you're talking about. I was moving to the Pittsburgh area for a few months and wanted something to do with my time pretty much after college. So we actually had some friends who were literally obsessed with karaoke, and we learned a lot about it on different forums, different websites where you could record yourself and be rated by other karaoke fans.
Wow.
And just the odd sort of bedfellows it made for friends and relationships. And so it seemed like a really good topic. And then after that, I worked at Greenpeace, and Devin and I helped the video department there. And then this project sort of just fell into our lap.
Wow. So, I think it's a little interesting for you, Allison, obviously, because your career path is kind of different from film, but yet, for some reason you just seem to grace these different projects with your acting prowess, which is always awesome.
What was great about Karaoke Gold is that, we had actually a crew of cast and crew of 50 people. Many of them included my mom, my dad,
Yeah.
Allison's mom, all of our friends. So it was a great learning experience in that we just had access to a camera and we just kind of made it happen.
Yeah.
Right.
And then also, actually, I got my real exposure to physically doing the work at Arlington Independent Media. They have amazing classes, and we had
instructors too?
instructors.
I hear their staff is excellent.
Yeah, I heard the old staff was better than the new staff, but and then we did a mockumentary style show that was on the channel too.
Nice. Yeah, and I did get to see a little bit. Maybe we'll roll those clips right now. But they look pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So I think it's fair to say you guys are a couple, right? And so Married in Spandex is your second feature kind of together. What's it like working together?
That's a good question. I mean, I think Allison actually, she's in law school right now, so she obviously misses it a little bit, doing the creative side of things. But it was a lot of work, just because we had a very small crew, and we kind of took on a lot of different roles. And Allison kind of took on more of the creative side as far as the content, as far as what was going in to the actual pictures, and I took on a lot of the technical, shooting of the cameras, editing of the film, the actual hands-on.
Okay. So before we get into Married in Spandex, what were some of the things that you guys learned from Karaoke Gold that you brought into this? Because obviously, Karaoke Gold was that passion project that I guess you guys did, but I'm sure it helped you for this film now.
Yeah, I think what Karaoke Gold was actually just letting people be as natural as possible. So we didn't have actors, so it was like a documentary in a lot of ways, And so a lot of long interviews and understanding how to phrase questions. For me, that was important to develop before we did Married in Spandex, because we were so short on time. We had to get it right the first time.
Right.
So I think understanding what it is that can get people to open up and really talk to you is something we did learn at Karaoke Gold, even though it was just for fun.
Right.
I think it required a lot of our friends and family to open up in ways they never had before. And that happened the same way with Married in Spandex.
Right, which is an interesting tie-in to Married in Spandex. And also, just in terms of documentary, that's one of the things you have to be able to gain your talent's trust and really be able to get in there and ask those good questions, but allow them to open up to you. So tell us about Married in Spandex and how it came to be.
Well, actually, it was about, we were both invited to the wedding, and the premise of Married in Spandex is that it's about two lesbians who get married by their favorite performance artist, and they travel from West Philadelphia to Ames, Iowa. And we were both invited to the wedding, and we were just going to make, because of our background somewhat, and my having access to cameras and things like that, we were just going to make a wedding video for them. And it was about 6 weeks out from the wedding, and it was kind of, the wedding itself was kind of snowballing, getting bigger and bigger, and more family was coming. It was initially going to be just a road trip with, 10 of their friends or whatever. And then there were performances planned and things like that. So we definitely thought it might be something worth capturing. So
Yeah, definitely. I think it was like the debates over email about which gold spandex jumpsuit the main bride's mamas, or the bride's mamas, and I was the main bride's mama. Things got confusing, and I just thought that this is going to be a really fun ride, and other people might want to come along with us. But then I was actually reflecting the other day about what really actually started the idea, and the idea for the wedding video actually kind of came from Devin, because I think he was thinking to himself, what am I going to do in a passenger van with 8 lesbians? And what am I don't have anything, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how I'm going to fit into this situation.
Right, they were
so
also,
I'll just film it. Yeah.
They were also offering,
I'll do y'all a favor.
if you guys want to be a part of the wedding in any way, and I was like, well, I can definitely bring the camera.
Devin was like, I volunteer to work. That's how I want to be involved.
I love it.
So, but yeah, it was going to be about 8 people, and then it ended up being about 60. So it turned into a destination wedding in a warehouse in Ames, Iowa.
Yeah.
And most people had never been there in their entire lives. So.
But I think it's also important to note that Allison's sister is one of the brides, and that was obviously the tie-in that we had, and that part of what made it to me interesting is these family dynamics that kind of you showed who your family dynamic when you have to do something that's really kind of out of the box, and you're kind of maybe asking for them to drive to Ames, Iowa, and that they don't really know what they're in store for. And I think that that gets shown throughout the film.
So yeah, and I had the pleasure of watching it. I think it was on Hulu Plus when I saw it, which we'll get into that, because I think that's pretty awesome to actually have distribution in that form. But Allison, for you, obviously on the cutting room floor, what's that like, where you have to choose kind of wisely, like what you want to show of your family, how much do you want to reveal, how deep do you want to go with the questions, things like that? What was that like?
I think what was really interesting is, like, when you're applying for grants and things like that, they tell you to write the story before it even happens when you're doing a documentary. And this was a situation where I really, maybe because I knew everybody so well and I had the rundown of what was going to happen, it actually really unfolded the way that we had pictured before. So as far as the privacy issue, I think based on feedback from other people that we had running camera at the event, they said, we turned the camera off a lot more than, let's say, reality shows or other documentaries they've been a part of. But, to me, there was a clear line. It was about, the principals and the people involved and how comfortable they were.
Right.
And just checking in with them. So it wasn't really my decision, So it was about the filming process. So if we didn't have it because it was private, we just didn't have it to work with. So there wasn't a lot of decisions in the editing room. What was, I think, something is that, we had a lot of difference of opinion with our editor, which was great, actually, for making a good final product. But about the length, she thought it should be a short, like 20-minute piece, and I was pushing for a longer, bigger story. And I think that was actually most of our discussions in editing.
Okay. Now, I guess you could kind of talk about this a little bit, but obviously when you're doing a documentary, sometimes you have to turn your subjects into like characters, right? So your sister is more of the laid back person. There's this one shot, and I was telling Devin about it. I don't even know if you guys realize you got it, but it's right before, I think, the wedding, and she's in the mirror and somebody's like fixing, I think, her tie or something, and from this side you just look at her and she's calm, cool, collective. But if you look, there's a mirror, and you can look in the mirror and look at her hand, and it's like kind of like shaking, like she's going like this, like she's really nervous. So I thought it was really kind of cool. You guys might not have even. That's just my cinematic. That's what picture love. But I thought it was really cool. It was really interesting just to see. I think you guys did a great job of character development, and you hate to call your sister a character, but in terms of character development, you're really able to fall in love with the characters as they go through this journey. So talk to me about any favorite memories that you have from shooting.
I mean, there was so much stuff that we weren't able to include. I mean, we shot pretty much the whole day with 2 cameras the day of the wedding, and we had a second camera operator. And there was just so many little moments, particularly because we had Leslie Hall, who's this very flamboyant, wears spandex jumpsuits, raps, Midwest diva, just very interesting character. And the whole time she was mic'd, so we were recording audio from her, and we had so many little moments with her. On top of, there was a dance troupe that came from Philly that performed like 4 numbers, and they drove just to be at the wedding and then drove back to Philly that night. And so it was kind of more, the spectacle itself was kind of really interesting, and how people reacted to it and how people, coped with it or, enjoyed themselves, or it was just fascinating.
How about you? Any favorite memory moments?
I think it's, again, like what you missed, which is sort of like, a real wedding video. People are like, oh, didn't you get that on the video when grandma did that funny thing? It was so funny. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of my memories just being really nervous and freaking out and doing these 2 roles, because I think I was a pretty good maid of honor, and I fielded a lot of my family's phone calls and things like that. But as a result, I didn't really know how to put on a costume the day of, so there's a lot of
playing 2 roles.
Drama with that. Yeah,
producer and
there's which I'm sure is noticeable at some points, but I think it was in my stepdad's van were full of people, and they had a blowout on the highway, and I had to
on the way to the
flag down my dad on a 4-lane highway in my outfit, which my cousin said I looked like a streetwalker from the future. So it was moments like that. I think it makes it real special.
Exactly. What about any challenges that you guys face while shooting?
I think technically what we had was we had a lot of interviews and setup of Rachel and Amanda and the wedding. And then we had at a certain point, once you hit Iowa, pretty much, it's all verite. It's all as it happens, cameras following them. So it was hard to pull a lot of the verite up to make it work. So it didn't feel like all talking heads and then verite.
Right.
And I think that was part of the challenge, but also fitting in some sort of other aspect of, the gay rights issue, and giving it some sort of context within Iowa, as well as within a broader, political landscape, because I think that we struggled really hard to fit that in to the overall arc.
Okay. Well, talk about where the film is now. I know you guys had it in some festivals. Is it on Festival Run? Obviously, like I said, I saw it on Hulu. Where are some other places that people can check out the film?
So it's available for rental on Amazon too, which is different. I think it is on YouTube. YouTube is actually trying something out like that, a rental option. But we don't have any screenings set up now because people can access it. But I think we did about 22 screenings in different places, and we were even able to go to Ireland with it, which was interesting for me because I didn't know how it would translate, but apparently spandex is funny over there too. And
spandex.
Yeah, it was great. We did a lot of different festivals, from women's festivals to LGBT festivals to just really cool indie fests in Iowa or other places, and I really enjoyed that because people come up and talk to you about their experience. since it is a personal story.
Right. Was there any good stories or, people that you met along the way?
Meeting the other filmmakers was really great. There's all kinds of different people out there making really amazing stuff in different formats. I mean, I was really impressed with the animators in Portland at the Women's Festival. It's just amazing how much, art and film are out there for everybody.
Particularly documentary in general, there's a lot of, seems like a groundswell with a lot of festivals that are kind of going strictly documentary. And, usually it's a kind of like us, people that may or may not have any skills in video that are, it's a passion project and they're just going to do it come hell or high water.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of that where people are just, they're out there doing it because they have to.
Yeah. Well, guys, again, thanks for coming on the show. We're going to wrap it up real quick, but are there any plans for future films that you guys want to make, or?
Anything?
I don't know. No plans yet.
Allison says every day she wants to quit law school and
Yeah.
make another movie. No.
Nice.
But,
He's ratting you out.
yeah, I mean, I think it's something that, worked out for us is that you have to wait for the right story sometimes.
Yeah.
And so nothing right now, but
Well, what's
It's
the
out there.
website for Married in Spandex?
It's marriedandspandex.com.
yeah.
All right. Cool. Well, guys, thanks again for coming on the show. It's been
Thanks,
awesome
Kevin.
talking with you guys.
Yeah.
Finally. Right?
I know. It's about time. Like, this is the 5th episode. What happened? All right. That's all for this episode. I'd like to thank my guests for coming on the show and giving us insight into their lives and the filmmaking process. You can find Picture Lock on Facebook and Twitter. Don't forget to log on to picturelockshow.com and subscribe to our email for movie reviews and news. And if you're interested in being a guest on the show, you can find out how on the site as well. Until next time, I hope you stay locked on film.